Hello and welcome. I want to begin today by naming something that most entrepreneur coaches and leaders silently struggle with, even though very few talk about it openly. The fear of being seen. Not the fear of showing up once or the fear of posting one piece of content, and not the fear of being visible when things are going well. I'm talking about the deeper fear, the fear of being truly seen as you are in your voice, with your ideas, with your imperfections, with your power, and with your truth. So let me ask you something and be honest with yourself. How many of you know you're holding back in your visibility, even though you want to be seen more? How many of you feel torn, wanting to share your gifts, but fearing judgment, criticism, or misunderstanding? And how many of you have ever watered yourself down, edited yourself, or stayed silent because visibility felt emotionally risky? You are so not alone. In fact, the moment you want to step into greater impact, your subconscious will often interpret visibility as danger. What if they judge me? What if I say the wrong thing? What if people misunderstand? What if I'm too much? What if I get it wrong? Or what if I can't handle the attention? Visibility is not just a marketing topic, it's an emotional one, a psychological one, a subconscious one. Because the truth is, being seen doesn't just expose your work, it can feel like it's exposing you. And for many people, especially women, empaths, perfectionists, and recovering people pleasers, visibility feels linked to rejection, judgment, abandonment, failure, or conflict. That's why you can know exactly what you want to say, but still not say it. You can have the strategy and still not implement it. You can have the talent, but still stay small. It's not because you're unmotivated. It's because your body is protecting you from a perceived threat. Yet here's the paradox. You want to be seen. You desire impact. You feel called to share your voice. And you know that visibility is a doorway to your next level. But you don't want it to cost your peace, your authenticity, or your sense of self. So take a deep breath and gently ask yourself, what part of being seen feels the scariest to me? Is it judgment, misunderstanding, or disappointing others? Being too much, perhaps? Being not enough? Losing your privacy or losing control of how you are perceived? Take a second to have a think about that and think about what those things are. I might read that out to you again, just those lists: judgment, misunderstanding, disappointing others, being too much, being not enough, losing your privacy, or losing control of how you're perceived. So whatever's coming up for you, that's your starting point. Because visibility doesn't require you to be fearless. It requires you to understand what's underneath the fear. And that's what we're going to explore next. Why visibility feels overwhelming. If you want to show up without losing yourself, you first need to understand why. And you need to understand why visibility feels so overwhelming in the first place. Because it's not just about posting content, it's not just about showing your face, and it's not even about confidence. It's about your subconscious, your history, conditioning, and your emotional patterns, and the meanings you've attached to being seen. So, in the next section, we're going to break this down so you can finally understand why visibility feels so heavy and what it will take to make visibility feel safe, grounded, and sustainable. So, now that we've named the fear of being seen, let's go deeper into why visibility feels so overwhelming for so many of us. Because here's the truth, it's not visibility itself that overwhelms you. It's what visibility activates in your subconscious. So let's break down what happens beneath the surface. The first thing is visibility triggers old survival fears. Humans are wired for belonging. For thousands of years, being judged or rejected by your community wasn't just uncomfortable, it was actually dangerous. Today, your logical mind knows you'll survive if someone doesn't like your post, but your subconscious might still respond like, this is unsafe, this is exposure, something bad could happen. So let me ask you, when you think about posting, and if it's something bold or vulnerable, where do you feel it in your body? Is it in your chest? That's where I feel it. Is it in your stomach? You can feel fluttery feelings in there or something else, churning, or your throat. Sometimes people feel it in their throat when they're trying to make themselves say something they're afraid of saying. And that's not weakness. That's just the wiring of your system. So the second point is visibility feels like losing control of the narrative. When you show up publicly, people can misinterpret you, project onto you, disagree with you, judge you, take things the wrong way. And people who grew up managing other people's emotions or avoiding conflict, visibility can feel like walking into a room without armor. So let me ask you, who here feels a sense of, what if I can't control how people see me? So this makes perfect sense. Your brain loves predictability. Visibility introduces uncertainty, and uncertainty feels like risk. Let me just take some water. So the third thing is visibility activates perfectionism. If you grew up learning that mistakes equaled criticism or performance equaled approval, being good kept you safe, being too much caused problems, then visibility automatically triggers the part of you that wants everything to be flawless. Suddenly, visibility feels like, I need to get this right. I need to look a certain way. I need to sound polished. I need to be prepared for every possible reaction. And this is all very exhausting. And it can lead to paralysis, like paralysis of thought or just not wanting to take action. So, how many of you delay posting or showing up because you feel like it has to be perfect? You keep going over and over and over just to make sure there's nothing wrong, making little tweaks that you don't need to make. Perfectionism isn't a personality trait, it's a protection mechanism. So, the fourth thing is you've been conditioned to prioritize others' comfort over your own expression. Many people, especially women, caretakers, high achievers, and people pleasers, were taught that it's safer to shrink yourself than to risk making others uncomfortable. So visibility feels like, what if I say too much? What if I upset someone? What if I seem arrogant? What if this is too forward? Your visibility isn't actually the problem. It's the internalized belief that you must manage other people's opinions. So, whose approval are you still trying to win when you show up online? Is it one of your parents or both? An old boss, society, an old relationship, people you don't even know? This question is always revealing. So, if you're watching this on the replay, then write it down. Whose approval are you still trying to win when you show up online? And consider whether it's from your childhood, parents, grandparents, aunties and uncles, whoever was a controlling figure in your childhood. But also think about any bosses you've had or school teachers. There may be school teachers who made you feel like that. Or it could be society in general, or it could be just, someone out there that you're afraid of not approving of you. Oh, and I forgot to mention ex-partners again. Yes, so definitely relationships can trigger this as well. So the fifth is visibility feels overwhelming because you've made it all about all or nothing. For many people, visibility means posting every day, sharing everything, always being on, doing video, live streams and stories, being loud, extroverted, and polished. No wonder it feels overwhelming. Visibility doesn't have to be constant. It doesn't have to be manic. And it doesn't have to be performance driven. It can be paced, intentional, aligned, sustainable, and authentic. But no one teaches us that. So take a break with me now and ask yourself, what exactly overwhelms you about being visible? What exactly overwhelms you about being visible? Is it the exposure, the judgment, the pressure, the comparison, the unpredictability, or the feeling that you must be someone you're not? For me, it's a fear of judgment. It always has been that. It's definitely the fear of judgment. It's a little bit of some of the others, but judgment's my main one. So whatever's coming up for you, that's the basis of what we're going to work with you. Because visibility becomes easier not when you become more confident. Confidence follows. But when you understand what part of you feels threatened and you learn how to support that part. So in the next section, we're going to look at overcoming the visibility persona trap. So understanding why visibility overwhelms you is the first step. But the second step is crucial. You have to stop performing and start showing up as yourself. Most people don't realize that they're showing up with a visibility persona, a polished, edited, filtered version of themselves created to feel safer. And while that persona protects you, it also exhausts you, it disconnects you, it distances you from your real voice. So in the next section, we're going to explore what the visibility persona is, why it drains you, how to identify it, and how to shift from performance to authenticity. So now that we understand why visibility, can't say it, visibility feels overwhelming, Let's have a look at how most people unconsciously cope with that overwhelm. They create what I've called a visibility persona. And this persona is the polished, controlled, safe version of you that shows up when you're afraid to show the real you. And while it helps you to avoid judgment, it also keeps you from connecting deeply and showing up consistently and being fully expressed. So let's have a look. The first thing is, what is a visibility persona? So it is the version of you that says, let me be professional, let me sound smart, let me be likable, let me not upset anyone, let me not be too much, let me not look like I'm trying too hard. So it's basically the curated you, the one designed to get approval and avoid criticism. So when you hit record, do you feel like you shift into a slightly different version of yourself? Well, if that is true, then that is the persona. Let me have some more water. Okay. So how to know you're in the persona? You're in visibility persona when you notice yourself over editing your words, rehearsing everything you want to say, sounding more polished than you actually are, hiding your quirks, humor, or emotions, using a professional voice instead of your real voice, withholding your real opinions, trying to impress instead of connect, and posting only when you feel perfect, which probably means not posting at all. So, which of these do you recognize in yourself? And there may be more than one. Let me just go through them again for you. So the first is over editing your words. So when you're like, if you're drafting out what you're wanting to say and you're going over it over and over again, rehearsing everything you want to say. Now, there's nothing wrong with rehearsing. It is a good thing to do. If you're going to do a talk or even just a live, doing a couple of rehearsals is a really good thing to do because it gives you that confidence in the words that you're going to say. But if you're rehearsing everything you're going to say when you're speaking, like over and over and over and over again, it's too much. You only need a couple of rehearsals and then you really need to just go live or do the talk. And if you're trying to sound more polished than you actually are, like putting on a different almost accent, it's not necessarily because if you're doing a speech and then people ask you questions, it's going to be very hard to keep that polished sounding voice going. You're going to slip into who you are and how you talk. So it's much better to have your whole talk just being you and how you normally speak. The next one was hiding your quirks, humor, or emotions. Be you. That's all I can say is be you. You need to forget about the fact that there's people out there who won't like your quirks, they won't like your humor, they won't like your emotions. You need to find your people who have the problem that you know how to solve, but also appreciate who you are, appreciate your humor and your emotions and your quirks. Those are the people that you really want to be your clients, and they're the people you want to attract. And the people who don't like those aspects about you, you don't want those people. Um, Withholding your real opinions, like you need to be brave enough to say what you believe in. And that might be something you need to work on to have the courage to own your opinions. That can be tough. if you've been spoken down to a lot. And you don't need to try and impress people. You need to try and make connections. Being who you are will help with making connections rather than just trying to impress people. And you need to post regardless of whether it's perfect or not. You need imperfect posting. Okay, so whatever this is for you, every one of us has a version of this. Absolutely everyone. So the third thing is why the persona feels safer but is actually draining you. I've got an itchy nose. Let me say that again. Why the persona feels safer but actually drains you. The persona forms because your brain believes if I show the real me, I might be judged. That's me. If I make a mistake, people will think I'm unprofessional. That one's also me. If I'm imperfect, people will lose respect. And it's absolutely not true. If someone disagrees, it means something about my worth. Now, just as a comment about that, obviously I make mistakes when I'm going along and it doesn't faze me. And I believe that when I've watched other people and they've made mistakes and they've just carried on, it's kind of created respect for them that they were able to just accept themselves as they are. It actually helps with connection if you're able to make a mistake and carry on regardless. Something to think about. But the persona helps you stay in control, avoid vulnerability, avoid discomfort, and avoid being misunderstood. Although I don't know that it really does all those things all the time consistently because it's just never going to be perfect. Regardless, the cost is huge because the persona is exhausting. It requires performance energy. You've got to really be up all the time. It also disconnects you from your truth. It prevents genuine connection. It makes consistency harder because you're never going to be able to make it like put that persona on exactly the same every time. And it's also blocking your intuitive voice and it creates imposter syndrome. So you're feeling like a fraud and wondering if other people are thinking you're a fraud. And in this case, it's generating it because you are being a fraud in that moment. If you're sticking in a persona rather than the real you, you effectively are being a fraud. So absolutely, it's going to generate imposter syndrome, feeling like you're a fraud. And also, there may actually people who are thinking this is not genuine. So definitely would not recommend having a persona. And how many of you feel tired after showing up online? Not because of the visibility, but because you weren't being fully yourself. Because it takes so much effort to not be you. But that's the result of the persona at work. I need a drink again. So, why authenticity is actually safer and more magnetic? Here's the part no one tells you: authenticity doesn't just feel better, it works better. When you show up as your real self, you can sustain visibility, you build real trust because people can tell that you're being genuine, you feel grounded, you attract aligned clients, so important. You experience less anxiety. I know that's amazing. You think that you're putting the persona on and that's going to keep anxiety away, but it doesn't. Being yourself lessens anxiety. You also stop overthinking. You feel free and you stop burning out. Most people fear that authenticity will expose them, but authenticity actually protects you because authenticity is rooted in self-trust, and self-trust is stronger than a polished performance. So which version of you do you want people to connect with? The polished you or the real you? The real you. This is your turning point. So the fifth part is that the person, oh, can't say it, the persona served you, but you don't need it anymore. And your persona is not a flaw as such. It's a younger part of you trying to keep you safe. But you are wiser now. You are more grounded, more resourced, and more aware. You don't need to abandon yourself to belong. You don't need to perform to be respected. You don't need to be perfect to be powerful. You get to be seen as yourself. So take a breath and place your hand on your heart for a moment and whisper, if it feels right, I don't have to perform to be worthy of being seen. So now that you understand the visibility persona and why it feels safer but ultimately drains you, it's time for the next essential step, learning how to show up visibly without abandoning yourself. Because that is the core of sustainable, aligned visibility. In the next section, we're going to explore how to stay connected to who you are, how to show up without pushing past your limits, how to create from grounding instead of pressure, and how to feel safe being seen in your truth. And hello, Emma. How are you doing today? You can type your answer in if you don't want to talk. That's all good. So the next section is visibility without self-abandonment. We've explored the fear of being seen, why visibility feels overwhelming, and how visibility persona shows up when you're trying not to get hurt. But now we're going to shift into something more powerful. That's okay. So how to be visible without abandoning yourself. Because the real reason visibility drains you isn't the posting or the content creation or the audience. It's the self-abandonment that happens when you disconnect from your truth to fit into an imagined standard. Visibility isn't overwhelming. Self-abandonment is. So let's have a look at this. The first thing is, what is self-abandonment in visibility? So self-abandonment happens when you trade your authenticity for safety, approval, or control. It sounds something like, let me say what people want to hear. Let me tone this down so I don't offend. Let me be more polished so no one judges me. Let me pretend I'm confident so I don't look weak. Or let me hide how I really feel because vulnerability is risky. So let me ask you, when you show up online, do you ever feel like you leave parts of yourself behind? Maybe your voice, your truth, your edge, or your softness. Have a think about that for a second. And whatever you're thinking about right now, that right there is self-abandonment. And it's why visibility feels so heavy. The second point is why we lose ourselves when we try to be seen. Visibility often activates old patterns of people-pleasing, perfectionism, over-explaining, shrinking, masking, performing, or emotional suppression. These patterns once protected you, especially if you learned early on that being fully yourself wasn't always welcome or safe. So, what was the message you received growing up about being visible, loud, expressive, or different? Let me read that out again if you want to note it down and think about it. What was the message you received growing up about being visible, loud, expressive, or different? So this is where tears often surface because the pattern makes sense, but you're not broken, you're conditioned. And conditioning can be unlearned. So the third thing is the core of self-protective visibility, staying connected to yourself. Self-abandonment happens when you prioritize the audience's opinion over your own truth. Self-connected visibility means you check in with yourself first. You post what feels aligned, not what feels expected. You honor your capacity. You listen to your subconscious and you trust your voice. And a powerful question to start using is, does this feel true for me? So rather than thinking, oh my God, will this be rejected? Will this be judged? Does this feel true for me? And that's really important. And you need to acknowledge that, yes, your opinion may be rejected, it may be judged, it may have people wanting to not listen to you anymore. That's something that it's okay, and that's something you need to accept. You are not going to attract everybody. You don't need to attract everybody, because there will be people who are attracted by what you're saying, who are attracted by your opinion, and your opinion, stated clearly and honestly and openly, will draw those people in. It's something to consider. So when you check in with this question, you anchor back into yourself instead of into people pleasing or overthinking. So the fourth thing is your visibility is not meant to please everybody, which is kind of what I was just saying. And this is the moment many people need to hear. You are not for everyone. You are for the ones who feel your truth. Trying to appeal to everyone forces you into dilution, which leads to exhaustion and invisibility. You need to stand out in the crowd by being different, by owning your opinion. And you don't need to attract everybody. How much of your visibility struggle comes from trying to avoid disappointing anyone? So let me say that again. How much of your visibility struggle comes from trying to avoid disappointing anyone? And you need to actively disappoint people almost. I'm not trying to suggest you be mean or nasty or horrible. You just need to be brave enough to own your opinions and accept the fact that not everyone will be drawn to them, and some people will not like them and will take themselves away from you. So when you stop trying to manage other people's reactions, your visibility becomes lighter, freer, and more grounded. So the fifth thing is a practice, visibility with me first. Before you show up publicly, come back to yourself privately. So try this practice. Place your hand on your heart, take a nice deep breath, and ask yourself, what part of me needs support right now? And respond to yourself before responding to the audience. So what part of me needs support right now? Look after yourself first. This is how you show up authentically, not from pressure, but from presence. This is how you stay visible without losing yourself. So what part of you do you abandon the most when you show up? Is it your softness, your intensity, your humor, your vulnerability, or your boundaries? Have a think about that and name it for yourself, because what you name, you can reclaim. So one of the things when I, like a while ago now, when I was afraid of showing myself was like my humor. My humor is a big part of who I am. And over the years, I've had a lot of people tell me that I'm not funny, but they've also equally had other people think that I'm hilarious. So I needed to get over the concern of people not thinking I'm funny and just like I often say funny things to amuse myself first. And if I find it funny, I'm good with it. Whoever else thinks whatever they think, that's all good for them. I accept that not everyone's going to find me funny, but I do know that there are lots of people who do find me very funny. So that's something I needed to own. The sixth thing is you don't need to overshare to be authentic. Authenticity does not mean public vulnerability with no boundaries. Authenticity means you speak from your truth. And to do this, you need to know what your truth is. And if you're not sure about what your truth is, you need to reconnect with your truth. And that may be something that's why you're using a persona, is because you're not really sure what your truth is. So find your truth. Authenticity also means you're not performing. You're not putting on a show. You're not your mask or your persona, and you are not your fear. You can stay private and still be real. You can be selective without being fake. You can choose what parts of you the world gets access to without abandoning the parts you keep sacred. Visibility with sovereignty. That's the goal. So take a moment now and breathe in deeply and then say to yourself, I can be seen without losing myself. I can show up without shrinking. I choose authenticity over approval. So let that settle in and take another couple of deep breaths. Visibility becomes sustainable when you show up in alignment with you, not in performance for them. So now that you understand how to stay connected to yourself while being seen, the next step is essential. Learning how to make visibility safe for your subconscious. Because overwhelm doesn't come from visibility itself. It comes from feeling dysregulated, pressured, rushed, or exposed. In the next section, we'll explore how to know your visibility capacity, how to prevent visibility burnout, how to pace yourself, how to regulate your system before and after visibility, and that just the before is as important as the after, and how to create visibility habits that feel safe, grounded, and sustainable. So we've explored how to show up without losing yourself. Now we're going to explore something equally important: how to make visibility safe for your subconscious. And we have to consider your subconscious because it runs a whole lot of you, whether you're aware of it or not. A lot of the thoughts, probably the majority of thoughts that pop up in your mind are coming from the subconscious. Your actions, what you're consciously focusing on, unless you're consciously focusing on what to consciously focus on, your subconscious is actually driving where your consciousness is focusing, because your focus of your consciousness is really limited. So just be aware of that. Your subconscious is ruling us so much of your life. But visibility is not just a mindset problem. it's a capacity problem as well. You can know your message, your niche, your content strategy, but if your subconscious feels flooded, exposed, or overwhelmed, you are likely to freeze, collapse, avoid, procrastinate, or disappear for weeks. And this is not a discipline issue, as so many experts will tell you. It's just not. It's a body issue in this. And this is about visibility making you feel unsafe. And so your subconscious is going into overdrive to make you invisible, to disappear, to keep you safe. So let's make visibility feel safe, steady, and sustainable. The first thing is visibility capacity, knowing your window of tolerance. Every person has a visibility capacity, the amount of exposure, expression, and output your system can handle before it feels overwhelmed. And I guess one of the really important things is if you're an extrovert or an introvert here, obviously extroverts are likely to have a higher capacity for visibility. Introverts, and I'm an introvert, I know I need time every day alone, away from every opinion, every loud voice chattering, and you know, I need time away from that. So the visibility capacity of an introvert is likely to be a lot smaller, and you need to be able to look after that for you. You need to be okay with giving yourself that time away from people. In general, your visibility capacity is influenced by past experiences, trauma or criticism, your sensitivity level, your energy type, your history with being judged, and your emotional bandwidth. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much visibility can you truly hold without feeling anxious or overextended or drained? Now, as I've said, I'm an introvert, so I can do this, and I can do lives, and I can go out and talk to people and be with people, but I can't do it all day long. So be okay with how much visibility you can truly hold with. And it's so important. This is like an essential point that you need to grasp so that you can allow yourself to have moments of visibility and to have moments of being alone. Your visibility strategy must match your capacity, not someone else's highlight reel. People who are showing up on social media and looking like they're unbelievably visible are not all extroverts. They're not all people who need all day to be in a group to gain energy. Something to consider. It's about you. It needs to be about you and your capacity. So the next point is the signs you're outside your visibility window. And you will know you're pushing too hard when you feel like tightness in your chest, you feel dread before posting, you're overthinking everything, or you're feeling shaky or activated after you share. You have regret or visibility hangover. You have the urge to hide, delete, or disappear, or the need to over-explain or over-justify, which is never helpful. So which of these do you experience most often when you show up online? So let me read them again. Tightness in your chest, dread before posting, overthinking everything, shaking or activated after you share, regret or visibility hangover, the urge to hide, delete or disappear, or the need to over-explain or over-justify. So you just have a think about which one of those uh, you felt like is your one, but you might have a few of them, and it's important to be aware of all of them. Um, so these sensations are your subconscious saying, I am overwhelmed, slow down. Take that into consideration. So the third thing is your nervous system's safe visibility starts with regulation. Before you show up, your body needs to feel grounded. Here are some simple regulation practices that take 30 seconds or less. So the first thing is belly breathing. So that's breathing really deeply into your belly for 4 seconds and then exhaling for 6. When you exhale longer than you inhale, that signals to your subconscious that you are safe. And if you need to get ready for being on stage, the opposite actually works. Just on a side note, if you breathe in longer than you breathe out, that actually kind of excites your system and gets you ready for being on stage, having the energy to be on stage and to go live. However, that can mean that, like if you've used that in the past, it can mean that it will trigger your persona. So be aware if you're doing that, that it may be triggering that rather than being connected with yourself. Anyhow, the hand to heart anchor. Place your hand on your chest before posting or recording and say internally to yourself, I am here with myself. I am here with myself. So that's like physically connecting to yourself. And if you do that more than once, it does create an anchor. And just if you do it enough, just putting your hand on your chest will help you say, like automatically trigger the feeling of that you are here with yourself. So the next one is feet on the ground reset. So put both feet flat on the floor if you're sitting or standing even can help. Feel the ground hold you. So just feel the connection between your feet and the ground. And if you're sitting, you can extend that to feeling yourself sitting into the chair, feeling the chair against your backside and your back against the backrest. If there's a backrest, feel that connection and it's very grounding. The next one is shoulder drop. And I used to do this a lot. So my shoulders would be up like this. Relax your shoulders down and back to soften your threat response. It just makes you feel more relaxed. So, which one of these grounding tools feels most doable for you before showing up? So, we've got belly breathing, hand to heart anchor, feet on the ground, or just grounding yourself in general, or the shoulder drop. You can try them all out and see which one makes the biggest impact on you. And remember, your subconscious doesn't need perfection, it needs consistency. So, doing them more than once, doing them over and over again, helps to trigger it in your subconscious as something that's worthy of doing. And it will bring it into a category where your subconscious will actually trigger the thought to do that. If you do it, the more you do it, the more your subconscious will trigger you to do that and make it into a habit. So the fourth thing is visibility should match your emotional capacity of the day. Not every day is a go big day. I know some people go big all the time, but some days you're spacious, confident, expressive, and other days you're tender, tired, or maybe introverted. Visibility should shift with your emotional capacity. So here's a simple model. On low capacity days, maybe just share a quote rather than trying to post something of your opinion. Post a simple reminder or repurpose old content. Write from softness, not pressure. On a medium capacity day, write a story-based post. Record a short video or share a personal insight. On high capacity days, go live. Teach something. Share some more vulnerable elements, or even go wild and crazy and batch content if it feels good to do that. It's always good to have batch content, because then you can just, when you're on a low day, you can just put out some of your batch content. So where do you spend most of your days? Are you low, medium, or high capacity energy most of the day? This helps you own your natural rhythm. Just having that awareness and being aware that there are different levels of emotional capacity. So the fifth point is recovery is part of visibility. After you show up, your system might need silence, grounding. You might need to go for a walk. You might need fresh air. You might need to do some journaling or just stand up and shake out the tension. And doing one of these will prevent the visibility crash. So it allows you to return again tomorrow without having emotional residue of going, oh my God, I've gone visible, oh my God. So add this to your regular activities. If you do go live and it stresses you out, then shake it off, go for a walk, do some deep breathing, plan for that. Take control of the situation. Be aware of your emotional response and process it. So what helps you come back to yourself after being publicly visible? Now, for some people, maybe they don't need terribly much, but if it is a big deal for you to go live, then you also need to have that moment afterwards where you look after yourself. So please take note of this and help this become a recovery ritual. And the sixth is you don't need to push to be effective. You don't need visibility that overwhelms you. You need consistency that supports you. Visibility becomes sustainable when it feels like a conversation, not a performance, an expression, and not a task, a connection to yourself and not a disconnection. And all of that is only possible when your subconscious feels safe. One of you, like the prime directive of your subconscious is safety. And you need to also become aware, and I've talked about this in other places, you need to become aware that your subconscious's definition of safety may be outdated or weird, for want of a better word. So part of what you need to do is become aware of what your subconscious believes is safe and what your subconscious believes is not safe, because it may need to have some adjustment. So take a breath and remind yourself, it is safe for me to be seen at the pace that works for me. So not just out and about, like putting yourself out there for no good reason just because. Do it in a way that is at your pace. Your subconscious has to trust you, and you build that trust by not pushing yourself beyond capacity. And that's why a lot of the advice that people give about procrastination is put yourself out there, just be brave and do it. And it inevitably leads to people going way beyond their comfort zone. They get freaked out and then they shrink back inside themselves. So you have to take action at your pace. Very important. So now that your subconscious feels more supported, we can explore the strategy side of visibility. And we're running out of time, but I think I might go over today just to make sure I get everything in. So not the usual force yourself to post daily strategies. In the next section, we'll talk about how to choose visibility methods that fit your personality, how to create content without performance pressure, how to be magnetic without being manic, how to simplify visibility so it feels natural, and how to attract clients using your true voice, not your persona. So now that we've established how to make visibility safe for your subconscious, it's time to layer in the strategy. But this is the kind of strategy that honors your energy, your truth, and your way of being. Because the goal is not to be everywhere. It is not to push and it is not to perform. The goal is to build a visibility rhythm that feels aligned, sustainable, and deeply you. So the first one is strategy must match your personality, not the algorithm. Most visibility advice assumes extroversion, high output, constant content creation, being on all of the time. But your visibility strategy needs to fit your natural way of being. So let me ask you, are you more of a content creator, a storyteller, a teacher, a conversationalist, or a quiet thinker? Your visibility should reflect your strengths. If you're a teacher, create how-tos. If you're a storyteller, share experiences. If you're a thinker, share insights. If you're a connector, engage in comments or direct messages. If you're a guide, share frameworks and reflections. There is no single right way to be visible. There is only your way. So the second thing is choose platforms that feel natural to you. You do not need to be everywhere. Some people thrive on video, audio, writing, conversation, long form content, or micro content. So think about which platform feels the most natural for you, the one where you feel most yourself. And just listen to your real voice. Just take a few deep breaths and listen to where you feel most comfortable. Visibility becomes easier when you stop forcing platforms that drain you. So the third point is the content trifecta: true, safe enough, supportive. Every piece of content you share should meet these three criteria. The first is it feels true. It aligns with your values and your real voice. It feels safe enough, not fully comfortable, but safe enough to stretch. So in order to expand your comfort zone and to expand your subconscious definition of safety, you need to take it a little bit outside. If you take it only a little bit outside, your subconscious barriers won't automatically come up and want to pull you back in. And if you go out beyond your comfort zone just a little bit and nothing bad happens, that provides evidence to your subconscious that it is actually safe out there. And the third one is it feels supportive. So it moves your message and business forward. So which of these do you tend to skip? True, safe enough, or supportive? And you may skip all three of them. It's entirely possible, but have a think about which one you feel like you skip the most. because you need to have all three of these. You need to have it feels true, it feels safe enough, and it feels supportive. And that's where your visibility can become misaligned if you don't have all of those three in place. So the fourth is create from overflow, not obligation. You don't have to push content out of yourself. Content that resonates is content that comes from inspiration, emotion, lived experience, clarity, a moment of insight, or authentic expression. So ask yourself before posting, am I creating from overflow or obligation? Overflow creates magnetism. Obligation creates burnout. I need some water. So the fifth thing is the three types of magnetic content. When you simplify visibility, you realize you only need three types of content. The first is identity content. Who you are, what you believe, and what you stand for. Story content. Moments, experiences, lessons learned. And the third is value content. Teaching, reframes, tips, and insights. These three pillars create trust, connection, and authority without pushing. So have a think about which type of content comes easiest for you. Is it identity, story, or value? And which one feels like your growth edge? Something that you might need to start slowly and do little bits of. This should give you clarity around where you need to lean into next. So the sixth part is the energetic boundary strategy. Authentic visibility is not just about what you share, it's about what you don't internalize. Healthy boundaries include not checking analytics compulsively, not needing instant validation, not taking criticism as a character attack. Because a lot of criticism may just mean someone has a different opinion, and they may not be right, or they may be partly right, and you may be partly right. It's not about who you are, though. It's about your opinion, and you don't need to have everyone agree with you. It's also about not explaining yourself to strangers, which I find myself doing sometimes. It's like you need to be able to state your opinion and just stop and give space to it. You don't need to sort of explain it away to try and bring that person in. Just state it and let it run. It's also about not responding to every message immediately. You don't need to be constantly on Facebook or wherever responding like to everything that gets written. So what boundary would make you feel safer, more grounded, or more free when being visible? Have a think about that. A single boundary can change your entire visibility experience. So not taking on board what other people say as a personal attack was so important for me. Find your one though. Find what will make the most difference to you. So the seventh part is consistency doesn't mean constant. It means congruent. You don't need to post every day. You don't need to always be active. You don't need to flood your audience. Consistency means showing up regularly, whether it's a couple of times a week or even once a week. It means people know when to expect you to be there. And it means showing up in a way that matches your energy and without disappearing due to overwhelm or without abandoning yourself. So think about what frequency of visibility, I struggle with that word, what frequency of visibility feels both sustainable and supportive for you. And what your answer is will become your new rhythm for how you deal with visibility. So again, we're going to have another moment. Place your hand on your heart and take a few deep breaths. And I want you to say to yourself softly, I can be visible in a way that honors me. My authenticity is my strategy. My energy leads. My visibility follows. And this is the heart of sustainable visibility. We're just going a little bit, I've just got the last section to do. There's a couple of minutes more. Now that you've grounded strategies for authentic visibility, it's time to bring everything home. In the next section, we'll close with a powerful reframe, an identity shift, and a declaration to carry into your visibility journey from today onwards. So we've spent the past hour exploring visibility in a completely different way, not as performance, not as pressure, not as something you have to do, but as a profound act of self-connection, self-trust, and self-honoring. You now understand why visibility can feel scary, why it can trigger overwhelm, how the visibility persona forms, how to show up without abandoning yourself, how to regulate your subconscious, and how to create visibility in a way that aligns with who you truly are. So now we arrive at the final moment, the moment where everything shifts from knowing to becoming. This is the moment your new visibility story begins. So the first thing is you are not meant to stay hidden. And visibility is not about being loud or perfect or being everywhere. Visibility is about letting the world feel your presence in a way that honors your energy, your truth, and your soul. It's about allowing the right people to find you and even to have the wrong ones sort of depart. You want the ones who resonate with your depth, your integrity, and your heart. So take a deep breath with me. What part of me is ready to be seen? Have a think about that. And whatever comes up, that's your next chapter. Secondly, you don't need to push. You need to trust. You never have to force yourself into visibility again. You don't have to chase algorithms or mimic other people or contort yourself to fit a mold. Your visibility becomes powerful when it becomes truthful. Your message becomes magnetic when it becomes real. Your presence becomes unforgettable when it becomes you. So what is one belief about visibility that you're ready to let go of right now? Have a think about that. So when you've got it, that is your release. The third thing is your new visibility identity. Close your eyes for a moment, if it feels comfortable, and take a couple of deep breaths. And imagine the version of you who trusts her voice, honours her limits, listens to her body, speaks from her truth, moves at a grounded pace, shows up with clarity, and stands in her worth. See her, feel her, and now ask yourself, how does she show up? What does she no longer tolerate? What does she no longer fear? Sit with this for a second. And then take a deep breath and open your eyes. And if you want to write the questions down, I'll say them again. How does she show up? What does she no longer tolerate? What does she no longer fear? So even if you haven't come up with the answer yet, take a little moment when we finish and have a think about that, because it's so important. So this is you just on the other side of permission. So the fourth thing is the declaration of your new story. In this, visibility becomes sustainable when it becomes a relationship with yourself. So let's end with a declaration. Again, place your hand on your heart. It's so important to do that. And repeat softly. Let me do this. I can be seen without losing myself. I can show up without performing. I can speak without overthinking. I can lead without shrinking. It is safe for me to be visible. I choose visibility that honors who I am. So take another deep breath and let it anchor into your body. Your visibility journey doesn't begin when you feel perfectly confident. Confidence follows. It's not the starting point. It begins the moment you choose to be visible in a way that feels like home. Your new story begins today. Show up as you, because that is more than enough. Thank you for coming along and listening to this today, and I hope it's made a difference to you.